And welcome into the PHNX Sun Devils show. And if you're wondering why Anthony Totri is not starting the show off, but he is on the show, it's because the man is a little sicky sick.
I'm a sick little boy.
Just a sick little man.
It is what it is at this point. I'm Anthony Totri. That guy right there who isn't congested yet is Erik Ruby. We got TJ Danielle behind the Mac making all the magic happen. We got Gabe in the chat. We got Sweet Prince Kenny. And we got our big hat show counter. You are almost halfway done.
Yeah, I'm feeling good. Yes, Daniel, a happy Tuesday to everybody. Apologies if I'm just gonna scoot a little farther away over here. The sickness has been running rampant in the PHNX office, and now I'm trapped in a glass room where we're both going to speak onto the same the same space.
So I ain't gonna get you sick.
I'll be congested later in the week. He'll be congested now.
Getting you sick, but you're gonna be ill. Talking about all them recruits.
There we go. That's a good transition there. We are gonna break down every single recruit, all 13 of them, hard commits in ASU's 2025 class, a top 15 class in the entire nation.
Yes, sir. Sweet Prince Kenny. Okay, now we're caught up. Yeah, I don't sound very good. I apologize to everybody listening on audio.
But rate the show 5 stars.
Rate the show 5 stars. I'll be back better than ever at some point. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button while you're at it. But Erik, let's go ahead. We're not going to waste any time today. Let's start off the top with Adrian Wilson, the highest rated recruit in Kenny Dillingham's class of 2025. I did a tail of the tape on Adrian Wilson a couple weeks ago. Just scour our YouTube channel and you can find it. But Adrian Wilson, again, 4-star wide receiver, 6 foot, $170, played his high school football and is continuing to play his high school football in the state of Texas. This is a big one specifically because it was the first wide receiver commit under Hines Ward, the new wide receiver coach after Rashad Samples left. Also, it's a former Oregon commit.
Correct.
I think it says a whole lot to be able to get that caliber of talent at this position this late in at that time spring ball with a new wide receiver.
Yeah,
coach.
This was a really big deal when it happened, and I know we covered it. And kind of the whole point of this show is to take a bigger picture look on everything instead of very focused, which we've done when everybody has committed. But you can't understate losing Rashad Samples.
Yeah,
and now you do get Hines Ward, which, proven with this recruit, yes, he can recruit. And there are even tweets about that. People saying Hines Ward can't recruit. But before, when you first hire him, I think that's a valid question.
Yeah, I do. Agree.
Especially when you're losing somebody who's so integral in your recruiting operation, that is Rashad Samples, especially the Texas to Tempe pipeline as well. So what do you do as soon as Samp leaves for Oregon? You take a wide receiver from the state of Texas who previously was interested in Oregon, and then you flip him to ASU. That's like almost the embodiment of a middle finger, right? Like respectfully, like a respectful middle finger, like a we're going to be all right. And that's just like semantics part of it. When you're talking about on the field, this dude can walk in and be a number one weapon, like if everything breaks right.
Yeah, his concentration, again, while I was doing the tail of the tape, his concentration is something that sticks out to me when the ball's in the air. He can make those acrobatic catches. He really does have nice hands as it relates to being a wide receiver. When you talk about when this kid actually gets to Arizona State, the state of that position group is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
You've still got a young player in Caleb Black, but Troy O'Meara, he's a redshirt senior this year. He could technically be a grad student the following year if he wanted to, but I would anticipate Troy O'Meara potentially leaving. Melquan Stovall will be out of eligibility this season. Jake Smith technically could have one more year. That depends if he wants to be, a pretty old wide receiver in the realm of college football. So depending on the season that he has, we'll see. Xavier Guillory, another one, a redshirt senior who could potentially come back as a grad student. But in reality, the only true wide receiver that the Sun Devils will have moving forward that you can 100% count on being here is a guy like Jordan Tyson. Redshirt sophomore this year.
Yeah.
He'll come back, assuming in 2025, still have eligibility left. But then you're really looking at a wide open position room.
Yeah.
You've got, yes, young guys like Caleb Black, like we already mentioned, and Corbin Hendricks.
But nobody who's come out there and like solidified a top spot in there. Guys who have potential to be a part of it. But I think Adrian Wilson walks in and he's going to be competing with Jordan Tyson. And in today's era of college football, you don't know if Jordan Tyson is going to be around. You hope that he is, right? Because ASU stuck with him through injuries and everything like that. But I mean, Adrian Wilson, that's why I say he could, right? Nobody's just going to walk in and be handed a number one spot. Like, hey, you're wide receiver one.
Especially not with Hines Ward.
No, but with his intangibles, like with his it's 6 foot, 170, like you said, great concentration.
Yeah.
He can meet it up at the high point, RIP, make a good grab, everything like that. Like he has all the building blocks to become that guy. And if he isn't instantly, like I think by the end of his first season, he'll be up there. And that's just a really exciting, like you want a prospect like that. As a junior, caught 60 passes for over 1,000 yards and 14 touchdowns. Yeah. Like that's a very good line. And that's somebody to where you're talking about a bunch of wide receivers who might be on the outs. He would come in and would make good for a couple of those guys, because most likely not all of them are going to stay, especially knowing with somebody like Adrian Wilson entering the room. But another highly recruited and highly rated prospect that's going to be helping out on the receiving side of it, but also the blocking side of it, is AJ Aya.
Yeah,
and he's going to be a stud.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing him get to ASU. Obviously, a class of 2025 guy. Nearly a 4-star tight end, the number 36.
Like as close as you can get.
Number 36 player in the state of California. Now, if you want to do the composite 24/7, he's the number 32 player in the state of California. That's pretty good considering the national talent that they have in that state. But 6'5", 240 pounds, had offers from Colorado, Florida, Auburn, SMU. The list goes on and on. This is a guy that for Arizona State is going to be the second half of a really nice tandem. I think with Jaden Fortier coming in the class of 2024, see how he rehabs that ACL injury that happened, I believe, in the state championship game. Everything I've heard sounds like he's on track. And then, of course, we're talking class of 2025. AJ Ea would be just a phenomenal addition. Reminds me a lot of just pure size, Messiah Swinson, who was here at Arizona State last year. And again, I think Jason Mons and Marcus Arroyo and Kenny Dillingham have the potential here to have one of, if not the best tight end duo in the Big 12 in potentially the class of 2026. You look at Jaden Fortier would be a junior, assuming he does a red shirt. You've got AJ Ea going into his sophomore season. And that's obviously without mentioning any potential additions that Jason Mons and Kenny and Arroyo have to this tight end room. So I think moving forward, the tight end room reminds me a lot of the running back room at Arizona State over the last few seasons, just in terms of we don't necessarily we're not looking for talent. We just reload, right? It's already here. It's already in Tempe. You don't have to necessarily go to the portal like ASU did this past offseason.
No. I mean, if everything works out right and Ea and Fortier are who we think that they can be, you're not going to be looking for much tight end.
No, you're good. You're really
like you're
solid.
going to want depth, and you're going to guys like a Markinson Douglas to get in there and to get dirty, like that type of player.
Yeah,
not specifically him. But as far as like Ea goes with receiving as well, he's 6'5", 240, but he don't move like it.
No,
he's
absolutely
super fluid, super fast up the field. He can create separation, and he's also big enough to be able to block well in all the different schemes that Kenny's going to run out there, especially his run-heavy ones.
Yeah,
which he's been reliant on, but I don't know, as maybe he adds some more offensive weapons around there and some really good pass-catching tight ends and high-rated wide receivers. Maybe they start leaning a little bit farther away from that. Maybe it's a little bit more out of necessity currently, but I'm sure it's always going to be a big part of what Kenny wants to do. And he just fits so many different boxes and is able to do so many different things just from a pure, right now. I mean, he's in high school right now and he's 6'5", 240.
Yeah, he's only going to get bigger.
Yeah, get him in college, get him a good strength and conditioning coach, good diet, everything like that. That's going to get even better as well. And you can mold him into really anything that you want him to be. And then you already have the golden goose in that room as well. And Fortier, I mean, that you can make an argument that could be the strongest room on ASU in the next couple of years.
It is absolutely possible. Look, he's 6'5", a big tight end, certainly going to play a big role for Arizona State. But when we talk about Kenny Dillingham, Marcus Arroyo, what they like to do it is, first off, run the football and protect the quarterback. And you got to be able to go get some offensive linemen to do that. The next class of 2025 commit that we're going to be talking about is Maki Stewart. He's the 76th overall player in the state of California. 6'6", 290 pounds from Long Beach, California. Again, had offers from Purdue, San Diego State, UCF, Arizona, just to name a few. Florida State, obviously, on that list. Utah, some schools that certainly have some notoriety, USC, Texas A&M, schools that can go churn out NFL talent, in Arizona State being able to get a guy of this size, I think furthers the idea that Kenny Dillingham understands if you want to win on a national scale, it starts in the trenches, and up front, you got to go have big, beefy, lengthy guys.
Yeah, and we'll get to some more of them after talking about Stewart, but they got themselves the beef.
They do.
They had themselves some serious size.
This is some Wagyu beef, man.
It is some Wagyu beef, man. And you're right, not just with what Kenny wants to do, but just football in general, right? Like if you're trying to build a winning team, even if you want to pass the ball primarily, right? You need to have a quarterback not be pressured the second the ball leaves the center's hand.
Yeah, you got to stay up.
And for ASU last season, obviously so many things went wrong, right? And it's not just on one specific area, but offensive line health, for my money, was the worst.
Yeah.
It was the worst thing as far as biggest negative impact to everything else, because you want to talk about quarterback play and how much was left to be desired with the quarterbacks. Well, you can also trace that back to the offensive line and having nobody to protect them. And you can never have too much beef. And I think with this class, you're starting to see, yes, they're accumulating guys that already just have like the size. And the cliche thing is you can't teach size.
Yeah, you can't teach somebody to be 6'6".
You're not just getting a 6'6", 290 guy who's a one-star, right? And you're just getting him for size. Yeah. I mean, you're getting a very good football player as well. And if there's one thing we know about Kenny and getting these types of recruits, you got to be up to snuff up here.
Oh, yeah.
Up in your head, the big hat head, as well as you are like physically set as well, which encourages me because it doesn't look like they're really compensating on either end. They're able to get both, and that's massive.
I think if you're looking at Arizona State, they're not trying to keep any trade secrets here. When you look at how they're trying to win football games, just look at the class of 2024 and the class of 2025 and the position groups that they are targeting. Offensive line has 4 of Arizona State's class of 2025 commits already. The only position group higher is defensive back with 5. And you could throw that being cornerback and safety, 2 positions. So you bring in 4 class of 2025 offensive linemen. You're going to add guys to the portal. You're going to retain guys. I anticipate them probably going to get another offensive lineman in the class of 2025. It would not surprise me whatsoever because you need to have length, you need to have size, and you need to be able to have an abundance of riches in the trenches if you are going to actually be able to win football games. There's a reason that when Oregon did what they did, and what Auburn did what they did, and when Florida State did what they did, and Memphis did what they did with Kenny Dillingham, yes, it started with the run game. You open up the play action. You're able to obviously keep the quarterback upright. You don't complicate the offense too crazy.
Right.
Little dink and dunks. You eventually take your shots. But you can't have a team, a national championship team, a Big 12 championship team, isn't built off of 5 offensive linemen, right? It's built off an entire position group that is 10, 12, 14 players deep. That way it is a next man up, and you're not going from a 6'6", 260, 290-pound blue chip offensive tackle to what did ASU used to have? Maybe like a 6'3", 6'4", 250-pound guy.
Still big, but not the same.
Not championship level. You don't see... Like outside of Jordan Morgan, right? The offensive tackle from Arizona who got drafted in this past first round, I believe, first round or second round of the NFL draft. Find me a Pac-12 offensive lineman that's been drafted. You can't, unless they come at least that early. Because they
Did
don't
anybody from
have
Washington's
that type of
offensive
size.
line get picked up?
Oh, yeah, Troy. I believe his name is Troy Fautanu or something like that. He's another offensive tackle.
But that's the thing is you look at a team like Washington, the most successful team out of the Pac-12 last year.
The 2 teams that we just talked about, Arizona, Washington, where AP top 25.
Right, and their offensive line, and you're even talking about like over there in Tucson, like they are also saying we need to focus on offensive line depth.
Yeah.
Right? That is never something that you can overlook, but like you said, when you're making these changes or somebody gets hurt and you can exchange, and in the past it's gone from, okay, somebody massive to somebody big.
Yeah.
Right? You're also going to want guys getting in that room and pushing each other. The whole iron sharpens iron. And if you look around and you're like, man, everybody in here is big.
Yeah.
I can't just rest on my laurels and say, I'm massive, I'm going to be starting, whatever. No.
Yeah, you're not going to just start here because you're big.
Yeah, you're going to look around. You're going to say, okay, I'm 6'4", 290. They're 6'6", 310. They're freaking 7 foot, 400 pounds, because that's going to be the next recruit Kenny gets, freaking Zach Edey. That's gonna push people. And Chad Johnson, Ocho Cinco in the chat, says, for all the bad news in the past few years, Kenny and the team are cooking and recruiting. Just wait till we start winning some games. That's always been the sentiment,
what we said yesterday.
And that's why everything is so impressive. If they had a 5-6 win season last year, we'd still be sitting here being like, wow, what an impressive class. How is ASU doing this?
If that team would have won 5 games last year, that would have been, you would be talking this year about Arizona State in the conversation for a Big 12 championship.
Right. I'm saying, especially with what happened,
the circumstances and the talent on that team last year, if they would have won 5 or 6 games, you would have been like, okay, the expectation this year is 8 to 10 wins.
Yeah. But even in a vacuum, let's just take like specifically ASU out of this. A team won 5 games last year, is now a top 15 nationally in 2025 recruiting, top in the Big 12. You would say it's impressive.
Oh, yeah.
And then you take a step out of that and you look at where ASU is, not just as far as record goes, but as far as everything else surrounding and weighing down the program. This is a massive success. And anybody, Wildcats fans, who try to tell you that that's not true, they're just denying it. And it really is like that first domino.
Yeah.
And eventually, like, if they're getting recruiting classes like this, they're going to start winning games. And if they start winning games,
watch out.
Right. Like there is seriously no ceiling. There seriously is not.
No, it is difficult. I think at a certain point, when you have a good staff and a good coach, I'm not going to say it's easy to get to this point because that's not what I'm trying to say. But there is, right, when you're at the floor trying to build something, it's easy to just keep going up and up. Right. That's what Kenny Dillingham and the staff have done as it stands right now. But when you hit bowl eligibility, you get to year 3.
And you got to keep
building
on that.
Then there's a little bit of a pushback, right? Because then you are going to be competing straight up for big-time players, the Georgia players, the Bama players, the Utah, USC, obviously ASU already competing with some of those, but Ohio State, LSU, like if you want to win national championships, those are the types of players that you have to go get in college football. Arizona State's not necessarily getting those players right now, and that's okay. But there will be a point in time if you want to elevate this thing to a Big 12 championship, to a consistent college football playoff team. You are going to start having to throw your hat in the mix for those types of players. But it doesn't take away from anything that this staff has already done. 13th nationally, and that says a lot, right?
Yeah,
top 15.
That's not small. And some people will point out, well, it's because of how many commits. And my response is,
the team right behind the team right behind Arizona State is Wake Forest, and they have 16. They have 3 more commits than Arizona State.
And ASU still ahead.
Yeah, and that's what I was trying to get to is it's not necessarily being top 15 that I think is so impressive this early, but it's the schools that you're ahead of already. Right. And again, I know things are going to change. People can flip. You're going to get recruits. Other schools are going to get recruits. I understand that. But ahead of Wake Forest, ahead of Tennessee, ahead of Oregon, ahead of Virginia, ahead of Texas Tech, ahead of UNC, ahead of Wisconsin, ahead of UCF,
team in the Big 12,
ahead of Texas, TCU, Oklahoma State, 3 Big 12 teams right there outside of Texas moving to the SEC.
Former Big 12.
Ole Miss, Stanford, Missouri, SMU, Rutgers, Nebraska. Like, you got a bunch of schools that you have already beaten. Again, not to say that they couldn't jump you. And you want to know the program right in front of them? Georgia.
It's not bad.
National championships every other year.
And again, like we are grading on a scale, but even if we weren't, it would still be impressive. And one more thing before we finish up the offensive side of things, Chad Johnson, letting off a lot in the chat here, says, never in college sports history could the fans affect the success of the team more than now. You want better players and donate money to the NIL collective. Even with Michael Crow as president and no AD, fans are in more control now than ever.
Absolutely.
And my response to that is A, 100% correct, but B, fans are not going to get as involved until those wins start to come. And I do think that Kenny and the staff understands that. But just wait, because if you pair this coaching staff with extreme fan buy-in, because I guarantee you this next upcoming season, there's going to be a lot of new fan favorites. There's going to be a lot of fans who are halfway out who are going to be pulled right back in, and they aren't going to care about Crow. They aren't going to care about an AD because they're going to have a fun and entertaining product on the football field, and then you have this class coming in, and now now we're getting really excited, and then this class comes in. That money's going to start coming in, and then that opens up the door to, hell, it should be a top 10 recruiting class every year.
Yeah. I mean, look, we're not reinventing the wheel here, right? This is
the
blueprint to go out and get these types of players. We talked already about the two position groups, the offensive line and the DBs is really where this coaching staff is trying to go get young, lengthy talent. We're going to continue talking about the Arizona State class of 2025. We're not totally done with the offense yet, but first I want to tell you a little bit about our friends over at Circle K. While we're talking about some top 15, top 25 teams, I'll tell you what, Circle K is always atop my gas station rankings because they've got great deals, great snacks, great treats. They have it all for you over at Circle K, and they're going to help you save money with Inner Circle, your new free membership program. Save 25 cents per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups and then 3 cents per gallon every single day after that. Thirst, I'm talking to you. Look, I know I'm sick, but it's okay. I can still do the tango with you, okay? You've met your match. Enjoy your member-exclusive beverage deal. Inner Circle members like you can get any size Polar Pop or Froster for just 69 cents.
Nice.
Now through September 3rd. Find it on the app under Inner Circle in offers. Join Inner Circle for free by downloading that Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for more details.
I just want to say you're doing a really good job today.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
You're powering through, and I'd say you've knocked this one out of the park.
Look, man, I just love talking ball.
Yeah, you knocked it out of the park. That reminds me. Our friends over at BetMGM
Dingers
have a brand new MLB Grand Slam jackpot. It's a weekly bet and get promotion where you place $10 or more on any player to hit a home run every weekend. That includes Friday, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And if that player hits a Grand Slam on that day, you could win up to $50,000 in a daily prize. Or let's say, for example, you bet on Corbin Carroll to hit a home run on Friday. He hits a Grand Slam and 5 other people bet on the same thing. You're going to be taking home a share of $10,000. That makes sense.
That's what I like to
you're
hear.
going to have to divide it based on that. So let's say you're like, okay, I know that this little sneaky home run pick right there, they hit a Grand Slam. You could be walking away with 50 bones plus 50,000 bones plus whatever you put down on your wager. You can do this in just a couple easy steps. You download the BetMGM Sportsbook app on iOS or on Android, and then you go and place that bet on a person that hit a home run Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or you can just use promo code PHNX, deposit $10 into your BetMGM Sportsbook account, place your first wager, and you can receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if that bet loses. Once again, you use promo code PHNX, or you can do the Grand Slam jackpot as long as you do it on the BetMGM Sportsbook. Check out the show notes for full details. And now listen to Shane talk about the disclaimer.
Bonus bets expire in 7 days. One new customer offer only. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY, 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus only. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico. First bet offer for new customers only. Subject to eligibility requirements. Bonus bets are non-withdrawable. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. See BetMGM.com for terms. U.S. promotional offers not available in New York, Nevada, North Carolina, Ontario, or Puerto Rico.
Getting right back to the class of 2025. Let's keep it in the trenches. Matai Jefferson, 6'4", 350 pounds from a height perspective.
How many pounds?
350. 350.
It's quite a bit.
And he's still got a year left in high school.
We're not even 350 combined, are we?
Probably not. Probably not. Again, another offensive lineman from California. This one, 112 overall player in the state of California. Again, not too bad. You look at some of the offers that this guy had. Texas, UNLV. For him to come to Arizona State, again, over Texas specifically, I think says a lot. Texas being an SEC school now, you know the types of offensive linemen that they're going after. 6'4", 350 with not as much length as some of the other offensive linemen that Arizona State gets in the portal that they got on the roster and that they're getting in these recruiting classes. He probably projects to be an interior offensive line, whether that be guard or center, is kind of up in the air, remain to be seen. Still got some time. But again, it just continues to further the idea that they want size, they want strength, and they want to build this thing the right way in the trenches. You start a pipeline this way. You look at, Alabama, Georgia, like we always talk about, or Ohio State and LSU, like they have their brands, whether consistently year in, year out, this is the type of style they play. But what do we know? Georgia gets crazy defensive linemen. Alabama gets running backs and offensive linemen. Ohio State gets DBs and wide receivers, right? So like if you could start to carve out your own little niche here in terms of trying to get, we're going all in on the offensive line and DBs. That's what we're doing. Then I think you've set a standard and a precedent to really, really go get some talented players to help Arizona State thrive in the Big 12 for years to come. But we'll see. We'll see obviously what happens. I do want to move a little bit quickly past Matai Jefferson and straight to Alema Iosua. I did a tail of the tape on Alema Iosua just for diehards. So if you haven't signed up to become a diehard, again, head over to gophnx.com today. Click that diehard tab. You're going to see everything that you're going to unlock, including the diehard only content. So highly recommend that for you guys. But this kid, 6'7", 292 pounds. He's a 3-star out of Bishop Gorman High School, obviously one of the premier places to play high school football in Las Vegas. 6'7", 292 pounds.
Every time I see Bishop Gorman, I think of Bishop Sycamore, though. It's
and about as big.
It's
bigger, if not that, man.
Yeah, I think that a lot of our points talking about offensive line earlier just kind of carry over to this. And I don't say that to dismiss any of the three that we've talked about or are going to talk about in this segment. But just get size. Get guys that are not like stuck just at one position, guys you can mold and kind of move around if you want to. And I would highly encourage to go check out that tail of the tape, become a diehard, because I was around for that as well. Very good. And also just a great way to get to know some of these guys and get to see some of their tape and stuff that we can't
had
show.
one come out on Jason Brown, the running back, class 2024.
Next up, baby. Next up. And then one last offensive lineman talk about.
Yeah, we got Rob Lapuo. If I'm pronouncing that wrong, my apologies.
We'll get the pronunciations better once we get a pronunciation guide. Once they get in here.
And again, Alema ASU, one last thing I do want to say is he's a little bit more of a project at 6'7", 292 pounds or whatever it is. He's got some tight hips, but he's really strong, obviously.
Yeah.
I'd love to see some technical development from him when he gets to the college level or his senior season. To really see what he can be as a college level defensive tackle or offensive tackle.
Yeah.
But again, let's talk a little bit about Rob, the last offensive lineman that we're going to be talking about in Arizona State's class of 2025, the 17th overall player in the state of Utah, 6'6", 330. Again, another big kid had offers from Iowa State, Oklahoma State, Utah. What do those three things have in common?
Beef.
And Big 12.
Big 12
beef
Big
right
12
there.
beef.
And Boston College, but of course, choosing Arizona State.
Shocker that you didn't go to Boston College.
I love it, man. I absolutely love it.
And I think especially out recruiting or getting somebody to pick you out of other Big 12 schools, especially teams like Oklahoma State and Utah.
Yeah.
Who are very established in what they do and what they bring.
Mm-hmm.
It's good to see ASU not just, every once in a while beating some pretty solid schools out, but almost consistently now.
Oh, yeah.
Most of these guys that are coming in that are committing, you're like, oh man, they picked ASU over another really good school, and Utah, Oklahoma State, and Iowa State as well, just not to the same degree. Fall under that category for sure.
Let's go ahead. Let's get into my favorite recruit in the class of 2025 right now. A kid that was one of, I want to say, the first three to commit to Arizona State. Look at that. We got Alema Iosua in the chat
what's
right
up,
now.
Dude?
Hit that like button. Alema, everybody say what's up. Again, congratulations on the commitment to Arizona State.
Drop your socials in the chat so everybody can follow you. Everybody big up. Everybody support him.
Absolutely. Let's talk about Michael Tollefson, class of 2025, quarterback, 6'1", $195, the 78th overall player in the state of California. But if you want to do 24/7 sports composite, he is the 37th player in the state of California. Had some big time offers. Again, we're talking schools like Arizona, Florida State, Georgia, Purdue, Oregon, Ole Miss, Oregon State, Tennessee, Utah, Washington. The list goes on, and he chose to be a Sun Devil.
What do you like the most about him?
He is a talent. He is a talent. He can make all the throws that you want to see from a quarterback at this level. And I think when he gets to Arizona State, you are going to see this kid shine. It is not often that Arizona State has a freshman quarterback come in and they are the guy immediately and they are the guy for years on end. I think a good example of that is Manny Wilkins, who was the Arizona State starting quarterback for a hefty period of time. Yes, there were guys that transferred in. Yes, there were recruits, whatever. Manny always beat him out.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Michael Tollefson is going to be QB1 the day he walks into Tempe, but I would be shocked if Michael Tollefson wasn't the starting quarterback for the Arizona State Sun Devils at some point during his 2 years, his first 2 seasons, because he is that type of guy. I had players already tell me that they believe that Michael Tollefson is the real deal. And I'll be honest, I had somebody tell me that Michael Tollefson was better than Jaden Rashada. So we will see.
Interesting.
We will see what comes out of Tollefson coming to ASU in the class 2025. But again, This is a really talented quarterback.
Yeah, this is somebody who you can't guarantee, obviously, they're going to come in and start day one. That's very hard to just sit in here and say, stamp it, starting quarterback day one. But somebody with the tools, the velocity, like the quick release, the athleticism as well, that you can make a case. Like you could say, all right, you're coming in here, and if everything shakes out right, like you could be starting. You could be at least in the mix for it right away. And I know with Rashada, there was a lot of hype surrounding him and his physical tools and kind of just how raw he was, how far he was able to throw the ball down the field, everything like that. I think you can see a lot of that. Obviously, they're different players, but as far as arm talent goes with Tollefson as well, and just like, again, you're beating out good schools. And you're continuing to take guys away from other schools and add them onto your own. And it's part of the reason why this is such a highly rated recruiting class right now.
Oh, yeah.
You're not just going and I'll just take a little one there, take somebody there. Oh, we'll just take whoever. No, you're picking guys who are going to come in and compete for starting jobs on day one.
No, you're absolutely
right.
And
as freshmen, that's a big deal.
Yeah. Mike Luke in the chat, Totri saying he has big time offers. We're talking schools like Arizona and Georgia.
That's tough.
Look, all these Division I schools can be cookies, right? You got a cookie jar full of cookies. Sometimes you got Oreo, sometimes you got baked like oatmeal raisin, and then sometimes you just have the stale crackers that your grandma used to give you. And Arizona just so happens to be in the cookie jar, just like Georgia. But let's not get confused. You are not a home-baked chocolate chip cookie, Arizona. Okay.
It was a nice save, but I do kind of agree with Sweet Prince Kenny, our diehard of the chat. It's like, damn, he kind of got you there. He did kind of get you there.
It is what it is. Do you have a favorite offensive class of 2025 commit? Before we head over to the defense?
Yeah, I guess it would be Adrian Wilson.
Okay, that's
just
fair.
Because I kind of salivate at the idea of if he hits his potential and what he could do and how much he could open up. But also AJ.
Yeah.
I'm really high on AJ, especially the frame, 6'5", 240, being able to block, being able to pass. When you watch his tape, he doesn't look like a 6'5", 240 tight end.
No, he looks bigger.
He looks he
plays bigger.
He plays bigger, but he also moves smaller.
Yeah, he does.
Like he's quicker. He's a lot more fluid. He doesn't look clunky. And this is somebody that if you're doing that in high school, get your body right a little bit more coming into college. I mean, you're talking about somebody who could be a mainstay, not only as far as like targets go on offense, but also blocking as well. And you just know that Kenny's going to find a bunch of different ways to use him. And that's very exciting to me.
Oh, it is very, very exciting. Look, we'll get into the defensive side of the class of 2025 here in a second, but it is Tuesday, which means it is Taco Tuesday. Over at Illegal Pete's. Guys, check out their Tucson and Tempe locations. Not only do they have phenomenal tacos, but they've got burritos, nachos, salads, bowls, custom cocktails, beers, queso. They have it all, including the strongest margarita in Arizona. Their margs are really damn good. Highly recommend you go check it out. I can't necessarily eat the queso because,
tummy problems.
My tummy.
They got plenty for you though.
They do. They really have something for everybody over
tummy
at
problems or no
Pete's.
Tummy problems.
And the sun's out. Go get yourself a marg
Get
or
yourself
a beer.
Patio beer.
Some tacos.
Get both.
Have a good
Patio
time.
beer in one hand, world's strongest marg in the other hand.
World's strongest.
That's what I'm going to go with.
I'm here for it. Guys, Illegal Pete's here to bring you a win with their legendary sound check deal. Bring in your ticket stub from any ticketed event and get a draft, beer, or house margarita for just a penny. Illegal Pete's wants to celebrate with you, whether it's a pregame or postgame party. They got you covered on all your game day needs. Must purchase an adult entree to redeem Illegal Pete's sound check deal. Illegal Pete's, your go-to spot for burritos, buddies, and beer.
Hey, this is awkward. Can I borrow $200?
No.
Hey, Danielle, can I borrow $200?
I'm fresh out.
Hey, chat. Can I bother you for just $200? I'm not going to pay you back. I'm just going to give you $200 for free. Now that sounds ridiculous, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah, it sounds ridiculous.
Just give you $200?
Well, it's not ridiculous because our friends over at Desert Financial Credit Union are here to offer you one heck of a deal. And for more than 84 years, Desert Financial has been Arizona's largest and most trusted local credit union, dedicated to creating exceptional experiences by giving back to the community and providing financial solutions that make lives better. And sometimes you say that and you think, oh, but who, Erik? Whose life has been better? Mine. My life has been better.
I love that for you.
Because of Desert Financial Credit Union. And right now, if you open up a free checking account with Desert Financial, they will put $200 right in there, right in your account for free. They're going to look the other way and you don't even got to pay them back. Oh, and on top of all of that, if you would like to rep Arizona State University, which we all do. You can show your ASU team spirit by getting an ASU Visa debit card. You could choose one of 3 designs, whether you're looking for checkings and savings accounts, the basics, or mortgages, loans, credit cards, investment options, and more. Desert Financial has you covered. You go to desertfinancial.com/ASU to get your $200. Get started with this whole process, and maybe when you get your 200, I can get some 200 as well.
I'm here for it, guys. Hit that like button and the subscribe button if you haven't already. Drop a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. We are not done. Let's go ahead. Let's talk about Rylan Dillard Allen, safety, 5'11", $165, the 3rd highest graded player in Arizona State's class of 2025, the 4th best player in the state of Arizona, playing Mountain Point High School in Phoenix, Arizona. Again, had offers Kansas State, Nebraska, USC, Washington, some really, really notable Big 12 and Big 10 schools as well. Now, before we talk about him as a commit, as a recruit, is set for an official visit at Texas A&M, which I know I brought it up to Erik before we even got on the show. I don't really understand that. Like, I get it. I understand, like, you want to have your full recruiting process.
You understand that it happens, but you don't understand why it happens so often.
Yeah, well, yeah, just hold out on the verbal commitment.
Right. Don't make like and who knows, right? You could just be getting wined and dined, it's okay. But
get wined and dined and then choose.
That's,
that's just my two. Again, I'm all for it, but like, it's just
like, again, a kid's got to do what's best for them. And if they decide that that's what's best for them, then fine. But I do agree, like, making kind of a big deal about it, #save the city, everything like that. And then to go into take an official visit to another school.
Yeah.
It's not a bad look because a lot of kids do.
I don't think it's bad. I think it's just like, it's weird for me.
Right. It's just more like, why is this so normalized? And why would you want to do that to yourself? Because you're almost like setting yourself up. Right. Yeah. Like, Texas A&M fans are going to be like, well, why are you visiting if you're already a commit? And that means that we should be pretty strongly considered, right? Like, we should maybe get our hopes up.
Yeah.
And then ASU fans are going to probably freak out a little bit.
Probably.
But as of now, verbally committed to ASU. So we'll take that. And #save the city is still in effect.
Talented player, man. Talented player. Is a ball hawk, plays with a little bit of an attitude, which I love. Reminds me a lot of Chase Lucas, kind of the way that you fly around the field and you jaw a little bit. But that's all DBs, right? Most DBs have that kind of that quality in them where they're going to let you know how much better they are than you, especially if they lock you up. And this kid, again, being such a highly rated recruit, like I said, 4th highest rated player in the state of Arizona in the class of 2025, the 3rd highest rated commit in Arizona State's class, and the number 33 safety in the nation, point blank, period.
That's good.
It sets Arizona State up nicely moving forward. And you talk about this position group at Arizona State in general, just kind of where it's going to be at. There's a lot of talent at that safety spot for Arizona State. Now, of course, in the future, you are going to lose guys like a Shamari Simmons. You are going to lose an Xavier Alford. These guys don't have endless eligibility. But there is still young talent in that safety room. You got a guy like Montana Warren, who's a redshirt freshman, who I am really, really high on.
You are really high on.
I do. Montana Warren, I think, is going to surprise people this season.
Great name.
It is. It's one of the best football names like I've ever heard. You also got Miles Ghost Rouser, who next year will be a senior. And that's, again, like, just to name a few. Kyan McDonald, who was a class of 2024 commit. So you've got some depth in that room, but again, I think you bring in a kid like Rylan Dillard Allen and he's going to compete like pretty immediate to try and be a rotational guy in that ASU secondary.
Got the pedigree for it for sure. And I think the thing that I like is we talked about that DB room is going to be pretty stacked, especially when it comes to this class, is that Rylan's a little bit more versatile.
Yeah.
And he could do a lot of different stuff on the field. And I feel like that's going to kind of help him immediately come in and be able to make an impact, because maybe there's going to be a log jam, but he's going to be able to separate himself because of his versatility and everything like that as well. Very fast, can get across the field super easily, but also is very physical as well. So he's not like just some quick guy who's going to meet somebody and get ran over while taking him down. No, he's going to be the one taking you down as well. You don't become a top player in the state for nothing. And hopefully the A&M thing is no big deal, but I'm going to pretend like that's not even happening.
Yeah.
And we're going to roll with it, and I'm excited.
Yeah, Joseph in the chat, A&M with that oil money is about the last place. I don't want my recruit to visit. Hey, we'll see. Again, it's just an official visit. And look, if he ends up changing and flipping to A&M or anywhere else, like, Kenny's going to wish him the best. And I think, everything, there's a plan for all of this. It sucks. You want to keep him. But he's not the only safety that Arizona State is getting in this class of 2025. And that brings us to Benjamin Alfeo, the 55th player in the state of California, 48th safety nationally, 6'1", buck 90, one of the most physical safeties, according to 24/7 Sports, in this region.
Yeah.
Which says a lot considering you've got states like California, Arizona, on the West Coast that do breed really, really good defensive backs. To be one of the hardest hitting kids at that position, I think says a lot. Got schools or offers from schools like BYU, Arizona, Cal, SMU. Again,
so scraping the bottom of the barrel with Arizona.
Pretty much. Chose to come to Arizona State. And again, you see the types of players and the types of positions that Kenny, Brian Carrington want to go get safety and defensive back. It seems like it's almost number one. And if it's not one, then it's 1B on their list.
And this is somebody else. He's going to project to be a safety more likely than not, but does possess the ability to be a little more versatile, play anywhere in that secondary. And maybe that, like, part of me is very excited with the amount of secondary depth, obviously, that they're going for.
Yeah.
But then on the double-edged sword of that, you got somebody already going and visiting Texas A&M, right? Maybe that room's a little crowded. But I think overall, exciting to have a couple different guys who can be a hybrid and can kind of change around. And maybe they primarily play one position, but they move around as well. But when you describe somebody as a big hitter, like, that's all I need to know.
Especially at that safety spot's what you want. You want a guy that can be able to creep up in the box and be an extra man, especially on first and second down, that can really have an impact on an opposing team's run game.
Yeah.
And he does that.
And not just run game, but he was primarily matched up with a lot of the state's top receivers over in California and held up very well against them as well. So Again, very excited. I think that it is now you're kind of looking at a little bit of like repetition when it comes to like, positions and stuff as well. But I still think you're in a position where the more the merrier with this team as far as talent goes.
Yeah. Staying at that safety spot, we got Xavier Scourin.
Great name too.
Texas, got offers from Arkansas, Colorado State, Houston, New Mexico State, Ole Miss, South Alabama, UTEP, etc. Choosing Arizona State. Not the biggest kid in the world, 5'10" and a half.
Speedy though.
180. This kid, again, whether he plays wide receiver or safety at Arizona State is going to be interesting to see. So he could, again, project to be on that ASU defense, playing in that secondary with a guy like Brian Ward, or he could pencil in to be a class of 2025 wide receiver. For you, Erik, which spot would you rather have this kid in?
Well, if we're looking at just with this class in general, I would probably say wide receiver. Just because of the depth. I mean, pure wide receiver, you're just looking at Adrian Wilson.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've got AJ in there as well, who is going to get some touches on the receiving end. But as far as maximizing his skill set, it would be as a safety.
Yeah, I agree.
And so, like in an ideal world, it would be safety, but you wonder if that room is very stacked because he is a little bit more one-dimensional than the other two that we've already mentioned.
Too.
A little smaller, a little speedier. You could see him, but hell, who's to say Kenny doesn't do both?
Oh, you're absolutely right.
Travis Hunter.
Yeah, okay.
I'm kidding.
Look, we got a couple more class of 2025 commits that we're going to be talking about. Again, hit that like button and the subscribe button if you haven't already. It really helps us. Let's talk about Dejon Hinton, 5'10", buck 75, the number 6 player in the state of Arizona. And again, you want to talk about save the city. Keeping these defensive backs home would be huge. Played at Saguaro High School.
And recruited by who?
Jason Mons, right? It's got to be Jason Mons.
Yeah.
Had offers Kansas, Iowa State, Arizona, Boston College. Again, the list goes on and on. To be able to get a kid at this position says a lot, specifically at Saguaro High School. And I know you don't have Jason Mons there, but I look at two guys to come up. I'll give you three. I'll give you two. I'll give you two guys that came out of Saguaro High School that are two of the top 5 corners in the country this season. One of which will be a top 10 pick in Ben Morrison at Notre Dame. Ben Morrison didn't go to Saguaro, pardon me. He went to Brophy. But you look at Denzel Burke, Ohio State corner, went to Brophy, transferred to Saguaro, played out a couple seasons there. He is, I believe, cornerback number 1 at Ohio State. Would have been huge if Arizona State could have got him years and years ago. Another one, Keely Ringo. Ringo for Georgia. Obviously was a draft pick by the Philadelphia Eagles. So you know that school can churn out defensive backs at a really, really high clip. Again, I know it's a different coaching staff, but to be able to get a
his
kid,
imprint's still there.
Yeah, to be able to get a kid at that position at that school, I think again will be huge for Arizona State. And again, it's just a pat on the back for a guy like Jason Mons and Brian Carrington be able to get that kid of that caliber.
Somebody else who starts with a V.
A V.
Versatile. He does play receiver. He plays corner, and he returns as well.
Got a little aspect to that return game in him.
Yeah, and so he's he can contribute in a lot of different ways. And you're right. #Save the city getting Saguaro, and again, that's just proving the point of getting so many legendary high school coaches here in Arizona.
Yeah.
Even though he's not still currently coaching at Saguaro, that's still going to have an impact, and he's still going to have connections there as well. This is just an absolute stacked room, and we're not even done yet.
No, absolutely not. Joseph Smith, another 3-star, rated 87 overall by 24/7 Sports.
Okay, but the high school, I got to say, this is my only red flag.
Legacy, the School of Sports Sciences, is where he went to high school.
That's either the best or the worst thing. Because either all he knows is ball,
that
or
show
we have no idea what's going on.
Sports Science. Remember that show on ESPN?
Yeah.
That show was incredible. I missed that show.
Legacy, the School of Sports Sciences.
Yeah, offers from Utah, Duke, Houston, Kansas, Purdue, Michigan State, Washington State, right? Like, again, these kids aren't like guys that nobody has found, that nobody's seeing, right? Like, Arizona State is in competition to get these guys recruited by the one, the only, the freshest coach in college football in Brian Carrington. Be a DB coach at ASU, getting a kid, again, played high school football in Texas at that position, I think says a lot. It's interesting that he's 5'11 and a half, because you look at kind of everything that we've seen and said in terms of a trend defensively and really offensively, is they want to go get bigger, lengthy guys. So if you aren't big and lengthy, then you have to be able to do something to separate yourself. I think to really pitch yourself to these coaches. And again, I haven't watched a ton of film and tape on Joseph Smith, but again, to be that size, to be recruited by a D1 school, he's probably got great footwork, and technique is probably the best thing for this kid. And I think that's how you see the field. Right?
I mean, he goes to the School of Sports Sciences, so you have to imagine the little technique and everything.
The little things, man,
is very good. And I also want to mention, as far as schools being beaten now, basically every single recruit here either has Arizona, Utah, Oklahoma State,
or USC.
Yeah, almost every single player here.
Yeah,
right. And whether you want to classify all of them as great football programs or good football programs or football programs that have one good season and everybody thinks are the best thing on planet Earth, you're still beating them all out after the season that you had last year, right? And the implications of everything else going on around your program as well. Again, like you're saying, you're not just finding diamonds in the rough, which I'm sure Kenny will do, but you are finding players that other schools want to bring in.
Yeah.
And that might be offering more money to bring in. And you're still being able to get them to at least verbally commit.
Yeah. Kenny finds his diamonds in the rough in the transfer portal.
That's true.
And again, some of these recruits, you got to build really, really strong relationships with. How the class of 2025, class of 2026 come together. I think that is really how this team is going to be built moving forward. But of course, we'll see guys that they didn't necessarily get in class of 2024, class of 2025 moving forward.
They might end up back here anyway.
Exactly.
Right.
Could be 1 year transfer.
Right.
But let's go ahead and talk about the last class of 2025 commit. As it stands right now, linebacker Isaiah Osefa, 6'1", $190. Interesting because he's listed at the same height and weight as one of those safeties that we just finished talking about.
Yeah.
The number 10 overall player in the state of Hawaii, 96th overall linebacker in the state, or in the nation, pardon me, according to 24/7 Sports. Not necessarily the biggest guy. Had offers Fresno State, Arizona again, Oregon State, Washington. Again, I think you look at this position group specifically, it's an interesting room just based off of the guys that you have, whether that be portal guys, kids that you've recruited like a Kavion Thunderbird, or guys you have returning from last year like a Tate Romney, a Crew Jackson, whatever. This is one of the more unique rooms, and I'm interested to see class of 2025, just how these linebackers fit in. I think in terms of positions of need, I think linebacker is probably another one that they'll go get in class of 2025, just based off, again, you've got guys that aren't necessarily going to be here forever.
Yeah. And mentioning the size with Isaiah, I know what it's listed as, but just a quick look at his film, Brother does not play that size. He's super fast. I mean, he's clearly faster than everybody else on the field, especially at that position. But he's bouncing off guys, but not in like a Jaden Daniels type of way, but just in like you are not so big, you're going to push me around. I'm running and I'm going to get around you.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think it was like 15 seconds into his tape, he pancakes somebody and throws him on the ground.
Yeah.
Right. So it is a position that you're going to need some more reinforcements, or at least with this like recruiting class. I mean, there's a lot of repetition at positions in this class, and that is not one of them. Like, he is the sole linebacker in there right now. So hopefully you can get some more guys to go along with him. But I am very excited to see what he can do. And plus, it's another person where he's going to put on weight. He's going to get bigger. He's only in high school.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. He does play really fast. I also love his instincts and coverage. Mm-hmm. Again, I think this is going to be a fun class of 2025 to see when it's all said and done and when it gets here.
Let's do a quick show on Arizona's 2025 recruiting class. Okay, that was it. All right, that was a good one. Good show.
That's
good.
Tough.
2 shows in 1.
That's tough. Look, that is going to do it for today's PHNX Sun Devils show. Guys, do us a solid. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and leave a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast if you haven't already. In the meantime, give the show a follow at PHNX_Sun Devils. You can follow me at Anthony_Totri. You can follow Big Hat Man here at Erik Ruby. That is Erik with a K. You can follow DJ Danielle at Abrica Danielle across social media. In the meantime, guys, go Devils and watch out for those damn allergies. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.